The strange origin of Aleister Crowley. When most people hear his name, they imagine shadows, secret symbols, and strange rituals. But Aleister Crowley's story begins far from darkness, in a strict Victorian home in England, where rules were law and curiosity was closely monitored. Born in 1875 to wealthy, deeply religious parents, young Crowley was raised in an environment of discipline and expectation. Yet even as a boy, he felt an urge to explore, to question, to understand the world beyond what was allowed. He was fascinated by books, nature, and the mysteries of human consciousness, often experimenting with ideas that seemed unusual for someone of his age. By his teenage years, Crowley had already begun rejecting conventional religion, not out of rebellion for rebellion's sake, but from a desire to discover deeper truths. This curiosity would carry him far from Cambridge classrooms and London streets, into mystical societies, philosophical debates, and journeys across Europe. Crowley became a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secretive group devoted to the study of symbolism, philosophy, and the potential of the human mind. Here, he learned rituals, meditative practices, and ways to focus intention, not magic in the movie sense, but a disciplined exploration of mind, thought, and self-awareness. Crowley's fascination with spirituality and philosophy was unbounded. He studied Eastern religions, meditation, and other systems of knowledge, traveling across continents in search of understanding. His writings would later become influential, shaping ideas in literature, psychology, and even the early 20th century counterculture. Yet Crowley's life was never ordinary. His personality was bold, unapologetic, and intensely curious. Friends and followers admired his intellect, while critics often misunderstood his ideas, painting him as eccentric or mysterious. He embraced that reputation, using it as a way to challenge conventional thinking, encouraging people to question what they assumed about morality, society, and the potential of the human mind. Over decades, Crowley wrote prolifically. His books explored philosophy, ethics, and the limits of human experience. He emphasized the importance of understanding one's own will, the power of self-knowledge, and the value of personal exploration. While some accounts sensationalize his life, the truth reveals a man who was intensely curious, deeply philosophical, and unafraid to challenge the norms of his time. Crowley's influence extends far beyond his lifetime. Writers, artists, and thinkers continue to study his work, not because they fear him, but because his life demonstrates the pursuit of knowledge, self-discovery, and personal philosophy in a way few dared to attempt. Even his critics admit that Crowley's dedication to thought, discipline, and exploration was remarkable. His story is a reflection of the human desire to seek understanding beyond what is comfortable or conventional. He challenges us to ask questions. How far can curiosity take us? How should we understand our own potential? What does it mean to live a life fully examined? Crowley's final years were quieter than his youth, yet he remained devoted to study and reflection. He died in 1947 in England, leaving behind a vast body of work, an enduring reputation for eccentricity, and a legacy that still sparks fascination. When we look back at Aleister Crowley, we see more than myths or sensational headlines. We see a person shaped by strict upbringing, guided by insatiable curiosity, and determined to explore the boundaries of thought, philosophy, and self-understanding. His life reminds us that the origins of extraordinary people are often unexpected, strange, and full of lessons about the pursuit of knowledge, courage, and individuality. The strange origin of Aleister Crowley is, in the end, a story of a person who dared to explore the unknown, not for power, not for notoriety, but for understanding, for discovery, and for the relentless pursuit of insight. The contrast between strict Victorian morality and his unyielding curiosity created tension, and tension often sparks creativity. His family's rigid structure forced him to question rules, to experiment with ideas, and to develop his own moral compass. This tension is part of what makes his story fascinating. It reminds us that environments that feel restrictive can sometimes produce minds capable of extraordinary thought. As Crowley matured, he traveled extensively, not to escape, but to learn. He studied languages, culture, and philosophy, seeking wisdom wherever it could be found. His journals and letters reveal a man constantly thinking, questioning, and reflecting. Even minor experiences, meeting scholars, observing rituals, reading ancient texts, shaped his understanding of human potential and the importance of self-directed exploration. His influence on culture cannot be understated. In literature, references to Crowley appear in novels, poetry, and plays, often as a symbol of intellectual daring. In music and art, his ideas of personal exploration and liberation influenced creative movements that sought to break free from tradition. Even today, his legacy can be seen in thinkers who challenge conventional wisdom and embrace curiosity as a guiding principle. But Crowley's life is not only about intellectual pursuit. It is also about the courage to be different. He embraced individuality in a time when conformity was expected. He demonstrated that following your own path, even if misunderstood, can leave a lasting impact on the world. And perhaps most importantly, Crowley's story encourages reflection. It invites us to ask, what does it mean to live fully, to think deeply, and to explore fearlessly? The strange origin of Aleister Crowley is a reminder that extraordinary individuals often begin in ordinary circumstances, that curiosity can outgrow restrictions, and that a life devoted to inquiry and self-understanding can ripple far beyond the individual. His journey is a testament to the power of the mind, the value of courage, and the enduring fascination of a life lived seeking the unknown. As we reflect on his life and work, we see a man who challenged his era, expanded human thought, and left a legacy that continues to provoke, inspire, and fascinate. The strange origin of Aleister Crowley is not just about one person. It is about the universal human drive to explore, to question, and to seek understanding in a world that often prefers certainty over curiosity. His life encourages each of us to embrace our own questions, to pursue knowledge boldly, and to recognize that the path of exploration, though strange and sometimes misunderstood, can leave a mark that endures far beyond our own time. Have you ever wondered what it truly means to follow your own path? To question everything you've been taught and explore ideas that others might dismiss or fear? Imagine living in a world where curiosity was dangerous, where asking questions could make you an outsider, yet feeling an unstoppable urge to understand the unknown. That was Aleister Crowley's world. And you might be asking yourself, could you have done what he did? Could you have stood firm in your beliefs, pursued knowledge relentlessly, and embraced your individuality even when it made society uncomfortable? Think about the choices we make every day. How often do we follow the path expected of us rather than the path that calls to our own curiosity? Crowley's story challenges us to examine that tension. What rules are worth questioning? What traditions deserve to be explored with new eyes? Could you look beyond fear and judgment to seek understanding for yourself? And what about the legacies we leave behind? Crowley's writings, his travels, and his ideas continue to inspire people more than 70 years after his death. What will your ideas, your curiosity, your pursuit of knowledge leave behind in the world? Are we willing to explore the strange, the unusual, the questions that no one else dares to ask? And perhaps the most important question is this: what are we afraid of discovering about ourselves when we dare to explore the unknown? Crowley's life invites us to reflect, to question, and to embrace the possibility that the world is bigger, stranger, and more fascinating than we often allow ourselves to imagine. Could you imagine walking in his footsteps, questioning, exploring, learning, even when the path is unclear, even when others don't understand your journey? And finally, what does it mean to truly live a life devoted to curiosity and understanding? A life where seeking knowledge is not just a hobby, but a purpose. These questions linger because Crowley's story is not just history. It is a mirror, a challenge, and an invitation for all of us to examine our own lives, our own curiosities, and the choices we make when faced with the unknown.